I'd like to discuss the distributor drive and the components that interact with it. We'll start where we're going to assume that you've got a built engine, or that you're building the engine from the bottom up and you've already got your oil pump installed. By the way, while we're here, this oil pump was left in oil too long. There was breaking down. I don't know what you call it. The acids in the oil pump, in the oil rather, were attacking the oil pump. And this is not dirt. This is corrosion. This oil pump was starting to be eaten away. So please keep up with your oil changes. This is the relationship of all the timing components. This drive shaft right here dovetails with the top of the oil pump dog right here, and the distributor then goes and drives off of this shaft right here, and these helical gears mesh up, and this sprocket is attached to this shaft. These helical gears are meshing, and what happens is the timing chain is turning this sprocket, which in turn turns these other items right here. At the same time, you've got your fuel pump working off this eccentric at the top of the oil pump. The housing right here that the distributor fits in the block, and it secures to the cylinder head at this point right here. There is a special spacer that goes underneath here. It fits right in this little spot right here, and allows this adapter to snug down. I don't know why they did that. Why they just didn't mold the adapter in there, I have no idea, or the spacer. I have no idea. But if you don't have the spacer in here and you snug this down, it's going to crack the adapter. Now then, this is a 6mm bolt, and what it does is allows me to screw in here and push this in and out of the engine to make installation easier. Excuse me, allergies are getting to me. And this is just a 1/2-inch aluminum rod from the hardware store. Cut a notch in it, and this allows me to move this around so that I can get the oil pump in position where this will fit. And also allows me to pre-oil the engine. I just attach this rod to a drill and pre-oil the engine before I do the final installation of the timing components. And that's why I have this video, because that's the way I build an engine. The very last thing I can do after it's all pre-oiled is to install the timing items right here. Now we're going to go over here and I'm going to see how this works in the engine. No, I didn't work this out beforehand, so I've got to get this figured out where I'm going to put the tripod. Let's see if that's going to work. Alright. Now then, this cover is where the tachometer drive goes, and this sprocket right here is the sprocket. And this shaft is in here, and you'll be able to excuse me, just barely see the helical down inside here. You can see it down inside there, and then you can also see the drive for the that's the top of the oil pump right down here. It's the drive for the top of the oil pump. And I put this down in here, and that's what I use to turn the oil pump for pre-oiling before all this stuff is installed. Now, if we're going to do the final installation, all right. So for starters, we've got this dog for the distributor drive is offset. Notice how nicely it fits like this. rotate it 180, and it doesn't fit. So this is offset. This part right here is offset. If you want to pull your distributor and service it and put it back together, be sure to put this dog back on the exact same way it came off relative to the shaft. Now then, we want to put this distributor in the correct spot, and we got a reference point right here for starters. This hash mark looks like somebody took a file and just put a little nick in the lip. That hash mark represents number 1 spark plug. We also want to put the distributor in such that the condenser is going to be pretty much facing us. And what this does, gives us the ability to get to the oiler and be able to rotate the distributor in its full travel, advance and retard, so that you don't end up hitting the condenser against the cylinder head when you're trying to adjust the timing, and also you don't have the oiling port obscured. So generally we find that the distributor is going to sit right about here, and be happy at that point. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to make, I didn't mean to do that, but anyway, it's a little clip for holding the distributor cap. Also, you're going to notice that there is an arrow on top of the distributor shaft. If you can see it right there, it's an arrow, direction of rotation. So you need your rotor installed. Now what you need to do is dummy this up, so that fits like that, and we're going to want to end up with everything lined up about, let's say about like that. So let's take the distributor off. Let's make a, if you want to, make a mark with a felt tip as to where you want this thing to end up, to give you an idea. And the helical, as this thing goes down, it's going to turn to the right. So that means you need to back it off about well, you're going to have to estimate all this. You're going to back it off just a little bit, and then it's going to rotate down in there. It also means that you're going to be using this tool to move the oil pump drive to where you think this is going to rotate down and line up with it. And this is also where this tool comes in handy. So we screw this in here, and also use this. This helps give a little persuasion, help it get down in there. And you saw it rotate down inside there. And we come back here, we line up our distributor, and here's our hash mark. And if you want, you can beat tooth off this way, but you don't want to beat tooth off that way. It's going to be too far, I believe. The one way you know it's correct is the clip back here for one way you know this is correct. The clip is going to be up against the cylinder head and be a pain in the ass to get to. So I think we have covered everything. Well, okay, this oil hole right here leads to, this chamber goes down here, and there's a felt inside here, and that felt lubricates this shaft. So you want to oil this with just regular engine oil. Also underneath here, there's felts down inside here. There's one missing. It should be up about the level where the notch is, and those felts are also for oiling the shaft, which, as you can see, when you hold the bottom here, you're moving the shaft that has the felts underneath, on top of it, and oil dribbles down to keep it free so you have advance. Let's see. Let's discuss the fuel pump. Fuel pump has got a chamber right here, and it's open inside here. You are supposed to pack this with wheel bearing grease. Both chambers, pack them as tight as you can with wheel bearing grease. Just force it in there, and then you install your fuel pump. And you don't need to use any. You got a phenolic block in here that separates them, and then you got paper gaskets on either side of the phenolic block. And you do not need to use any gasket sealer on here. The grease is to keep oil from migrating through this hole and filling up this little chamber right here. So you're just packing it full of grease. Keep the oil out of here. And also, it's the only lubrication that the engine gets. It does not receive any lube from the engine oil. Trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you about. What else am I thinking here? I think that covers it. Don't need this in here because we're not at that point yet, so you can see it rotate out. What I would recommend is some anti-seize in here, because these have been known to seize inside here. It's not designed to have an O-ring there. What that is left over from when some of the early versions of these units had a dog point that went through here and secured the distributor in the housing. The later versions have got a clamp that clamps onto here and then goes and secures right here. But a lot of people think an O-ring goes there to keep oil from coming up there, and that's not true. So just I wouldn't put an O-ring there. Just anti-seize this, and you'll be good to go. Next episode, we will discuss timing the oil pump to the water pump to the oil pump, and to the rear axle differential pinion, so that the oil pump and the water pump are in synchronization. And if you listen to this point, that's a joke. That's your joke for the day. Thank you, and if you have any questions, just ask.